infrared satellite imagery. That's definitely useful for tracking trends over time in the intensity and coverage of an MCS. Radar is helpful for that to some extent, but you have bias from antenna height, which bins are covered by the composite reflectivity, and so on. It's a function of range with radar, and you don't have that with satellite data. So it's something you should definitely look into, especially in the more data-sparse areas of the country. But let's run it back to yesterday morning. Let's do the time warp again. And there we see how things looked yesterday at about 5 a.m. So bringing that forward into the morning hours, you can see this MCS moving into Arkansas. By about noon, we'll stop here, that MCS has dissipated. There's the usual afternoon storms forming throughout the southeast U.S. We'll run it forward another 6 hours. And in terms of MCSs, it's pretty quiet except up there in the Dakotas and Minnesota. Well, we ran this up to 9 p.m., but anyway, another MCS coming together there in northern Minnesota. And you'll want to watch this area here because we had a nocturnal MCS start coming together around the Fort Smith area. There it goes. Rapid development about 1 to 2 in the morning. And yet another MCS in Arkansas. It's been very wet in that region. And that brings us up to the current time. Afternoon storms going once again in the southeast with the heating increasing, and there's the old MCS starting to dissipate a little bit as it moves into Mississippi. The 250 millibar analysis up at about 34,000 feet near the top of the troposphere. Once again, we're using the Canadian analysis. Unfortunately, INSEP in Washington, they ceased production of these upper air charts in 2017. It's really such a shame. They were great charts. But Canada continuing to produce them, and let's see, what do we have here? Looks like the polar front jet is lifted a little bit further north. We find it mostly in Canada, except where it dips into Montana and part of eastern Washington there. The subtropical high, yeah, there it is, just south of New Mexico, a very slight eastward drift from yesterday, and looks like maybe we have another center out in the Gulf of Mexico. And I'm sure there's a couple more centers out towards Bermuda, out in that region. Pretty good ridge going across the Great Lakes area, so likely some good weather in Ontario and the Great Lakes proper. And let's see, out west, trough approaching the high plains. So we should see an increase in thunderstorm activity there. But overall, a very westerly flow for this time of year. So the patterns we have are going to resemble late September, early October, more than midsummer. And there's a quick look at the Canadian surface analysis. Again, it doesn't look like they go into too much detail in the U.S. proper, but we're going to jump in and look at that ourselves. But we can definitely see the systems up to the north, a very powerful occluded low up there in the Northwest Territories. You can see some cold air being wrapped around the backside, and who knows, that could make its way into the northern plains in a few days. And it looks like we're still seeing the fallout from this derecho that went through the Midwest on Monday. Very important factor of that is the effect on the corn production. 10 million acres of crops in Iowa affected, and I think that it was about 30% of the harvest. Now, of course, given the pandemic and the supply issues, I know shortages are a big concern. I know a lot of you are probably having trouble getting certain staples. Here, we're having problems getting meat from our local Walmart. And I'm sure this derecho is not going to help with the corn. One thing that's positive about this, it does appear there's record yields expected throughout the Midwest due to the rainy season. And from my understanding, a lot of that corn is not for the human food supply, but for livestock. And with a lot of those meat processors ramping down things, it appears the demand for corn is scaling down also. So there may not be too much of an effect, but we'll see. My specialty, of course, is not agriculture. If you're plugged in on this, definitely leave a comment and let us know what you think. Here's how things look in the southwestern U.S. The progressive westerly flow still scouring out the moisture there in Arizona. Dew points sagging into the lower 50s and into the 40s. So the only place where we have any moisture, just a little bit, in the higher elevations of the mountains, and of course the rest of it confined to the lower plains. Have a little frontal system there around Childress, Wellington, Shamrock, with a dry line starting to take effect. We do get that with these progressive flow patterns, and as a result, dew points are coming down into the 40s around Hobbs, New Mexico, and Midland, contrasting with the mid-60s further to the east. And then we have kind of a backdoor front there in the Oklahoma Panhandle. 70s dew points around Woodward and Dodge City. So we'll have to keep an eye out for the possibility of thunderstorms in that area. Then we have a new frontal system coming in through the Central Plains down into the Garden City, Denver area. North wind behind that, and that gives us a triple point around Garden City and Colby. And then out in the northeast Texas area, there's the warm front sector, and you can see it divides this very hot air, hundreds in Waco, Abilene, San Angelo, from this more mild air with upper 80s in Oklahoma City. And then we've got another boundary there with an outflow region with that nocturnal MCS we talked about. That laid down that boundary there. So we might see a bit of that on the satellite. And let's take a look at that. And there's our satellite loop at this hour, early afternoon. We've got just enough moisture to get those mountaintop thunderstorms going, orographically induced convection, around the Albuquerque area all the way down towards Truth or Consequences. And, well, this would probably be more towards Alamogordo. But, yeah, it is coming together. Texas is very dry. You don't even see the dry line there. Now, there is a little feature just south of Amarillo. You can see that coming together, some specks, and that's probably close to that low and that cold front. Let's check back on that. Okay, so we know that there's some sort of boundary. We'll take a look at the West Texas mesonet. Yeah, sometimes we have to look a little closer at the data. And I see lots of hundreds, but let's try to figure out where that boundary is. I'm going to start off by looking at dew point. And I see that we got 50s all the way out towards the area off the Cap Rock, and then we pick up 60s up to the north, and that's that cold front there. So I think the boundary setup may be a little bit like this, and it appears those storms, or that towering cumulus, whatever it is, going up right there where the dew points are in the mid-60s. That's about the best moisture that we've got on the high terrain, except for up to the north, but I think the theta E's may be a little bit lower up there. And that could be what's happening. Taking a closer look at that convection, there it is. Looks like it puts out one little orphan anvil right there. It detaches from the clouds toward the end. And it looks like another puff trying to go up right about there. Definitely has a high base look. You can see how the elements are not very granular, and they're kind of large, so I think there is some dry air working up into those updrafts. And certainly no low cloud field to be found, but that's how it goes this time of year. Not much to be seen up north. Looks like that fire out near Grand Junction has been put out, but I see another one up there northwest of Boulder, up there in the mountains of the Front Range. And let's see, up to the north, looks like a little weak disturbance moving through the flow across Montana, but other than that, we have to go all the way out towards the eastern plains to see any significant weather. And we know that there is a front running something like that right there. And there it is on the surface map. Low pressure area south of Fargo. And north of that, we're getting some lift over that frontal surface and some moisture back in behind there. 66 degree dew points. And then out to the west, very dry air, downslope from this high pressure area off the coast of Washington. The northeastern U.S. still under the influence of that 1024, 1026 millibar high up there in Quebec. So there's some weak cool air oozing down into the northeastern U.S. And then off to the south, we've got the convective activity from afternoon convection. And there it is. You can see those cloud elements pushing towards the southwest, but it appears there may be something going on in the Detroit area. You can see a few thunderstorms going up west of the city. What could be going on there? Good question. I do see some cyclonic turning in the wind field. Looking at the pressure field, I don't really see a closed low. It looks like the pressures drop as you go south, but there could be some sort of inverted trough in this area. And as far as an air mass difference, I don't know, maybe. I mean, that could be a tail end of that front, but that looks a little bit too far north. Anyway, that'll be something to watch if you're in the northern Ohio and Michigan area. In the southeast, a very, very, very weak pressure gradient. This is about as few lines as I've seen on a surface map that we've done going back all these years. If it wasn't for this 1016 line, we'd probably have nothing except for what's in Texas. So things are going to be dominated by boundaries put out by convection, and there's certainly a lot of it out there. There's too many boundaries really to resolve this on this chart, but I've outlined the important ones. This one from the MCS in Arkansas, and this, I'm not too sure. I just kind of saw the pressure field doing something like that and opposing these other winds out to the south where it's warmer. And then, let's check out the satellite. And there we go, lots of convection. I do see a little system off the coast moving out of the picture, but out to the west, there's that MCS moving into the Jackson area. Good question how long that'll keep going. I guess I would have to take a look at the models to know for sure. But it appears the general direction is taking it this way. So Mobile, Biloxi, areas like that may see that MCS later today. And of course we should see how things are looking out in the Atlantic. Tropical Storm Josephine, 35 knots. It's not very strong at all. 1006 millibars. That's not very strong either. There's the track going for some strong recurvature and nothing in here indicating hurricane strength. So it appears pretty quiet out there over the Atlantic. Then we got the southern new disturbance. That's the one we just saw on the satellite. 70% chance of cyclone formation. Now, although that is over the Gulf Stream waters, it's pretty far north. So I'm not too sure if that's going to be baroclinic or barotropic. Looks like NHC is thinking a tropical depression or a tropical storm. And there's our sea surface temperatures. We really need to be seeing about 26 to 27 Celsius. Let's see. The system is right about here. And that puts it over waters of about 27 to 28. So just barely enough to support tropical storm formation. At least that'll be the case all the way up to about 150 miles off of Long Island there. So it may be kind of a short-lived tropical storm, but certainly the conditions are favorable. So this morning's ECMWF, European model, taking the storm well offshore. So very minimal effects, just 10 to 15 mile an hour sustained winds along the coast there. The GFS solution, very similar. Looks like the flow a little bit stronger going into tonight and tomorrow morning along the Massachusetts coast. You can see sustained 20-25 knots there. The Canadian model, similar situation. And the UK Met. How about that? Pivotal Weather gives us detailed UK Met data. And yeah, it's keeping that offshore. So all the models are not bringing that into the inland areas. Okay, and I got to get back to work. I'm planning to get a digital atmosphere release out tonight. So that's some news. That's going to be the first release in over a year. I've been working to fix some problems with that and get the grid stuff going. So keep a lookout for that. If you want to get the first announcement about that, you're going to need to go to the Weather Graphics contact link. That's going to be under support, under contact, and you're going to want to go down to this digital atmosphere announcement list, get signed up for that, and tonight you're going to be the first to know about that. I'm not going to announce it here because that's usually for our sales and other stuff, and I try to limit how much spam we sent out. I don't want to be doing that. So we'll probably send something out there maybe in a week or two. But for now, the announcement will go out here, and you'll probably see that appear on the site somewhere. So that'll give you the tools that we use here to make the maps, digital atmosphere, and also the grid capability. And as you can see, you can load the GFS and get all the different types of data sets, and I've tried to make this as easy as possible. So a sample of a data download is like that. You're going to select the hour, download it. If you get errors like this, that probably means the data is not available yet. And in a lot of cases, you're going to need to pay close attention to this hour. And now the data is available. So the problem we had earlier, the 19 hour, that's too close to the 18Z run. So you've got to bring that down to 12 and set that manually. Then once the data is in, you have this list of different fields. So you get a whole bunch of stuff you normally don't get off the internet. So you've got vertical motion, absolute vorticity, height, great stuff there. So the height plot, just click on display there. And there it is. There's your height field. If you want to go in and see vorticity, go back into your panel here. 500 millibar vorticity right there. Display that. And there's your upper level forecast. Now, one little tip, if you want to get slightly more detailed data, you're going to want to pay attention to your analysis options. If you increase that domain size to like 50, 60, 70, 80, you're going to get more sharp definition of the contours, and you'll want to play around with the smoothing and kind of bring that up or down until it looks good. So anyway, there you go. I'm also in the process of updating the station tables here, so you're going to get updated station lists. Still working on that right now. And these are the station changes we've had just in the past month. New patron support, nothing this week. I would like to think that Forecast Lab is better than some of the Twitch streams and YouTubers out there. But I know the subject material is kind of dry. We may have to get into September and October when things get a lot more active, and then maybe things will pick up. It does take a lot of hours to put this program together, so I have to justify working on this instead of the books and software. It's really a tough call since there's only so many hours in the day. I do thank those of you who are supporting the program. I would like to see us growing this program, but we'll have to see how things pan out. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Hope you all have a great weekend. Take care, and we will see you on Monday for the supporters and Tuesday for the rest of you. Bye-bye.